All right. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. Look at the smiles on this call. I'm so excited to be here. I'm Mark, as you know, I hope, founder and CEO of Cast Iron, and welcome to the latest and greatest episode of Castiron Bites, where we get to meet really special people in our space. And I'm delighted to be joined today by Monica and Lewis from Sugar Strategist. That's sugarstrategist.com. And before I ask you guys some questions, I just want to share. I get to meet so many people and so many people who have businesses and missions to help small businesses like we do, and we share that in common. But it's rare to come across people with um you have such the you and folks, you will see a focused intensity in a way that's very productive, right? Not scary, but like really productive and professional, and really means business. And that's what I would say if I were asked, based on the two or three conversations we've had so far, is Sugar Strategist and Lewis and Monica, they mean business. So I hope you take that as a compliment because that's how I mean it. Monica, let me start with you. Tell us about who you are and how you got involved, your journey to becoming Sugar Strategist.
Sure. Thanks for having us today. I'm excited to be here. I know Lewis is as well. My background is, I grew up in Northern Virginia. I'm a Virginia native. I've met Lewis and we live and are based out of Virginia, although I do split my time between Virginia and Florida. My background's in business and marketing, so I have a passion for both of those. I went into dessert manufacturing in the early 2000s where I found my passion for desserts and dessert production. So I was working for a dessert manufacturer there. In 2008, I built a company called Sweet Signatures and over time grew that very quickly and saw that I was actually pretty good at combining the business part with the dessert part. And then several years later, after I was doing really well, I grew pretty quickly. I was doing about six figures in about 3 years or so because I started with e-commerce. I decided it was time for me to build a brick and mortar. So I built a storefront, which was technically zoned for manufacturing, but still retail looking and consumer facing. And with that expense and those goals, my goal was to sell it years down the line. I had a 10-year lease. And that's how I met Lewis. Lewis and I have very complementary skills, and he was a huge asset to me being able to sell that company and his business acumen. And he'll tell you a little bit about himself as well. But his experience really complemented mine. I really wish I would have met him years before because he had a lot of great suggestions and answers to a lot of my questions as I was trying to navigate the negotiation and the sale of my company. And then from there, we realized we had complementary skills. And a passion for entrepreneurship. So we started a company called MoLoCo Consulting. And so Sugar Strategist is actually a brand of MoLoCo Consulting. And so I handle a lot of the marketing creative parts. But the thing about Sugar Strategist is I really felt like that conversation about selling my company was a real eye opener to how much I really needed when I was in that position. And so our goal with Sugar Strategist is to really be all the things that I needed or that we need as entrepreneurs when a lot of times we feel like we're alone. We've talked to our friends and family about all of our challenges and problems and stuff, but it's really hard to find somebody that can genuinely relate, but also have time to really help you and maybe take some things off your plate, help you with some of the things you feel pressured with. Could be anything from employees to new recipes to, managing a storefront, or do I get a food truck, or do I, scale up, scale down, and all that kind of stuff. So he was a huge asset of that, and we've become the best of friends since then.
Awesome. That's amazing. I have so many questions about your journey, but a successful dessert maker, talented artisan turned into a talented business person, and bringing that to bear. Lewis, um,
Yeah.
yeah, I was going to make a joke
Well,
about our earlier conversation, but I won't. Tell us about your journey and why you care so much about this.
yeah. So my background's very different. I spent most of my career in the largest companies on the planet, Fortune 100, worked for IBM, American Airlines, Ernst& and Young, EY, mostly on the technology and consulting side of those businesses. So consulting with, customers like the state of California as a customer and things like that. And after, well over 20 years of doing that kind of stuff, Ended up at a little company folks might remember called WorldCom, and I think we all might remember what happened to WorldCom. But when my boss left the building under the supervision of federal officers, decided it was time to get out and do my own thing, and decided, I'd been basically in a position where I was a consultant coming up with what I thought were grand plans, turning them over to this massive company and not ever knowing if they did anything with it, not ever knowing if they ever implemented it. Really could never see the effects of the work I was doing. And I decided to try to figure out if I could bring some of that knowledge that I had built there to local businesses and small and mid-sized businesses where it could actually make a real difference in individuals' lives rather than as a very small cog in a very big machine.
Amazing. Amazing. So I'm sorry to interrupt. Did you have
No,
more?
please.
Okay. So at sugarstrategist.com is where folks can find out. And there's also a special offer at sugarstrategist.com/castiron, which we'll talk about in a bit. But maybe, Monica, like if you had to summarize the superpower of Sugar Strategist and MoLoCo, how would you summarize what is the superpower? What do people, we'll talk about what they can do with you, but what do they get? What's the
I
superpower?
think the real unique thing about us is the complementary skills that we bring to the table and our background of how we can help people, right? So like, for example, when I was selling my company, Lewis is a paralegal. So there's a lot of things that he does for our company that I have no knowledge in doing. It's not something I ever learned. He helps with our contracts, not only for contracts that clients are needing to create, but also to read them and to translate them. A lot of state laws, as you know, cottage laws vary from state to state. In some cities, there's certain unique things. And sometimes it can be really confusing. And he does such a great job with walking people through what's unique to their environment so that he can translate it into layman's terms to help people figure out, are they allowed to sell it? Are they not allowed to sell it? And that sort of thing. So I think with my background being marketing and branding, we help with logos and websites and vision and stuff. And then my experience of having been in their shoes, both spending my own money, trying to figure out how to grow, investing in e-commerce. I mean, you obviously have an e-commerce platform, people understanding the value of what that can generate. But then his skills are just so complementary and so different because of me coming from different types of businesses and just having different types of experiences. And then obviously with his tech side, he's also part owner in various businesses. So we help with people that need help with apparel and printing. And obviously in the food industry, you've got farmers markets with banners and other brand visibility and things like that. So he brings a lot of that. He also has a background in payment processing. And so obviously trying to take payments, whether you're out at an event, whether you have a storefront, whether you're trying to do e-commerce, he can help with all that, plus the tech side, the backside of websites and stuff like that. So very complementary skills. And I think that's just very unique to us. A lot of what we see out there is a marketing company that specializes in marketing in the food industry or certain aspects in the food industry, but not really all encompassing. And I like to think that we're pretty all encompassing.
I mean, folks, the Sugar Strategist means business
We do.
in a real way. So what's your offering? How do people work with you? What do you guys sell?
Sure, Lewis, you want to take that up?
Yeah, sure. So we work with folks in a couple of different ways. One that we love and that folks seem to love is we offer classes pretty much every week of the year, other than kind of holidays when bakers and treat makers are already overwhelmed. Their classes, we're not going to teach you how to, bake a cake, but we're going to teach you the business side of things. These classes range from topics like how to turn your hobby into a business, to how to figure out how to set your prices and understand your costs, to more specific things like the best way to use Canva for your marketing, or how AI is changing the way people are writing social media posts and things like that. And then secondarily, we work with people on a consulting basis. And those are, hours of time with the two of us around specific topics that you want. And Mark, that leads great into the offer that you mentioned at sugarstrategist.com/castiron. So normally our memberships cost $250 a year. That gets you access to all of our classes. There's no additional cost to attend any of those classes.
Classes are online.
Right, they're all online, so you can attend from anywhere. We also record them, and as a member, you have access to the recordings in case you miss them live.
Wow.
But the special offer for that same $250 that normally would be for an annual membership also includes 2 hours of consulting, where you'll have 2 private hours with the two of us to tackle whatever issue you may have. And the way we work with folks is we get those issues in advance. We do the research so that when we get on the call, we're the most productive we can be and really work through the problems. I'll familiarize myself with the laws in your city or county, all those sorts of things, and we can take that hour and really turn it into something potentially transformative for the business.
That's remarkable and generous. Thank you. Sugarstrategist.com/castiron. I mean, there's so many challenges that people have and open questions, and not often, we try to create a comfortable environment for people to ask questions, but sometimes it's just better to do it one-on-one, because they, for whatever reason, or they might be specific issue. I think that's a wonderful, wonderful model. What's an example of a topic that you may have covered in a one-on-one? And remember, our folks are home bakers, home food artisans, working, cottage. What's an example of the last one you did?
I mean, they range very widely. So one of my favorites, it's not the last one we did, but one of my favorites that we dealt with was a customer who got a negative review online, a pretty harsh negative review. She took it incredibly personally, was broken up about it. We got on the phone with her, we talked through it. We came up with a strategy on how to respond in a calm and kind of matter-of-fact way with the customer. And it turned from a negative experience into literally dozens of people responding and saying, I've worked with her before. This doesn't sound like something that she would do. I've had nothing but positive experiences. And at the end of it, she was able to count a number of brand new customers that came out and said, based on your response, I want to do business with you because of how that was responded, right? And for all of us, when we're doing something so personal, it can be really hard not to have sort of a knee jerk or respond emotionally. So that's not the most recent one, but it's one of my favorite because it really just changed the dynamic for her personally, how she was feeling, and from a business perspective, how it worked. Monica, I don't know if you have another example.
Yeah, there were two that came to mind. One was a home baker that wanted to transition over to VDAC certified, which is the Virginia Department of Health, or Virginia Department of Agriculture, sorry. And she now was, in doing that in Virginia, it allows you to be able to ship out of state. So shipping was new to her. So we talked about how to package things. Because I obviously started with e-commerce. I was shipping nationally from the beginning. So those are all skill sets, resources, suppliers. Lewis has a great background in shipping platforms. So he was able to help with the technical side. I'm helping with the hands-on side. So we're helping her navigate how to do that. She already committed on her own that she was going to do that. Sometimes we're having conversations about, is that the right move? Why or why not? Do I go from a home baker to a storefront owner? Why or why not? Do I take this next step with this level of investment? What are the pros and cons? And then the other one that that really resonated with me, because I think it's an important one. As home bakers and treat makers, people get asked, do you have XYZ? You're a cake maker, you're getting asked for cookies, you're getting asked for brownies, you're getting asked for all these things that weren't in your original menu. And when you get asked enough times, you start thinking maybe you're missing out on opportunities because you're not carrying those things. And so next thing you know, the chocolatier is now offering cakes. And so we talk about, is that really adding to your business, or is that just moving your money from treats to cakes because you're a one-man show? You only have so much time. So if you were getting booked before, you're still getting booked, right? If you're running out of time, you're still running out of time. If you were making more money on chocolates, but now you're offering cakes where maybe your profit margin is lower, maybe that's not the smartest move because you're not as good as cakes because you're a chocolatier, for example, right? And it could be the other way around if you're a cake maker. So people really understanding as you design a menu, it's not just about having a great product and putting it on the menu with a price and hoping that people buy it. It's really trying to navigate this as a business. Obviously, you have people that do it as a hobby and do it for fun and they just do it for side money and things like that. But when people are really trying to generate growth, it's really important that you move intentionally and understand why you are adding certain products, adding more flavors, removing things, which events you're showing up at or not. One of our other clients was spending a lot of time on farmers markets, but her clients are in the corporate world. So we're like, well, why are you going to farmers markets? Maybe you need to be going to trade shows, And so it just hadn't dawned on her because when you're in this environment, a lot of times people are becoming home bakers from a different industry completely. They don't know business. I was talking to somebody yesterday. She's an MD. She never went to business school, right? Incredibly smart and talented in what she does, but she's not familiar with how to monetize it as a business. So we help people navigate those with conversations from our own experiences and things like that. So it's kind of all over the place, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's just we're often a sounding board for people because there aren't too many people they can ask for that kind of advice.
Yeah, and with real relevant experience, a point of view, and a true authority. I'll say it again. I mean, you guys mean business. Like, some people like coaches and teachers who are touchy-feely, maybe a little on the
Hmm.
softer side.
Hmm.
Some people like them, like whip me into shape and get my business to where it has to go and like put me to work. That would be my personal choice. Like, why don't you just tell me what I'm supposed to do and I'll do it? And I think that's pretty great. And I really love the energy and the focus. Sugarstrategist.com/cast iron. And you can get basically 2 free hours with Lewis and Monica, who will tell you exactly what you need to do to get your ship straightened out, which is pretty phenomenal. All right. So coming to the end, I have 3 questions that I ask, and usually I only have one person ask. So you guys can choose who to answer these questions. But the best meal you ever had, and you guys can choose.
I'll give that one to Lewis.
Oh, wow. Okay. The best meal I ever had. So I am a first generation born here in the US. My parents are Italian. So I'm going to give a little bit of a cop-out answer here and say most every meal my grandmother made when I was growing up, I could smell it, 6 hours in advance, and just ready for it when it came out. And just miss those meals every day and have yet to find an Italian restaurant that quite hits that same spot.
Yeah, so that's not a cop out at all. But one of the reasons why I started this company was because of the emotional connection between food and the people who make it for you. So yes, we're heavy on bakers and treat makers, but we do have people making amazing Italian meals. We do have like the whole thing, and for me, it's the power of it's the moment of joy that really food can, very few things can create that, which, so that was a home run of an answer, Lewis. That's 2 points for Lewis. All right, so Monica, you get the next question, which is, what's the best piece of advice you've ever been given and who gave it to you? And Lewis is winning 2-0.
Okay, so it's a quote that we have on our website. It's a tattoo that I have as well. I don't know where it came from, but it really resonated with me when I was preparing to invest everything that I had to build my store and bet on myself to try and make it happen, knowing the pressure of what it means to sign on that dotted line and commit to that for close to 10 years because I knew I was going to sell, but I had a 5-year opt out and I knew there was high 6 figures on the line. The quote is, if you don't sacrifice for what you want becomes the sacrifice. And I felt like if I didn't choose to go that route, then I would have sacrificed that whole thing. And I use that a lot in life about choices that I make, directions that I choose to go, saying yes to things, trying new things for the first time. I just felt like I had to go all in, and if I didn't sacrifice for what I wanted was going to be the sacrifice. So, yeah.
I love it. That actually is a 3-point answer. So, Monica,
Wait, I also have a tattoo with my favorite saying on it. I don't know. I feel like there should
what
be
is it? Eat more cookies? What is your? I have to ask.
Mine says this. So this comes from a letter that my dad wrote me during a very difficult time in my life, and the first line of the letter was,
this is trending for a high point.
Yeah, was son, this too shall pass. And I have it tattooed in his handwriting on my forearm, and I look at it all the time. And I recently was on a really bumpy flight, and after the flight, the woman next to me said, I have to tell you, and I hope you don't mind, I stared at your tattoo the whole time, and it helped me get through this crazy flight. It was one of these flights where like the flight attendants were strapped down the whole time.
Oh my God.
And so yeah, we're both believers in those sorts of things. So I also have my favorite phrase tattooed. So I think that's a tie. I think I'm still ahead here, Mark.
We have
The
one
reason
final.
he has a tattoo is because of me.
We're
Well,
not
there you go.
competitive at
So
all,
it
as you
all
can
evens
tell.
out. It all evens out. Well, I'm the only one in the family with my tattoo, and this is my family's initials. So,
Oh,
There
cool.
you go.
it's meaningful to me. All right. So the final answer, let's call it a tie at this point because it's MoLoCo. Um, what, who inspires you? And particularly if you can in this space or somebody you've seen that we might want to talk to next, tag somebody that we might want to talk to.
That's a tough one. Louis, do you have one? I
Uh,
don't. I
It can
feel
be
like the
somebody
people that I work with.
it could
So
be
I'll
somebody
give
you
you an
coach.
example. I'll
Yeah.
give you an example. It's not a single person. There's a group in Northern Virginia of business bakers, and they set up something yesterday called DMV Cakechella. Okay. Now, this is a great idea for any community, any group of listeners listening to this thing. It was fantastic for so many reasons. And if you need to crop this out or edit it, by all means. But it was a group of business bakers in this area that got together and everyone brought a cake.
Hmm.
It could have been a sheet cake, it could have been a cookie cake, a layer cake, whatever the case may be. And most of these people are home bakers and that sort of thing, but there are some storefront owners. There are other people that make other things that just decided, you know what, I make macarons normally, but this is great reason for me to make a cake, right?
Right?
So everyone got together. I never made, like, I didn't make too many cakes. I focused mostly on chocolate and baked goods like pastries and stuff. So I'm always inspired by the people that spend all this time and have this amazing creativity to make these incredible things. And so everyone got to go around and introduce themselves, share more about where they're located, what they made, who they are, what their handle is, and network with each other. And then all we did was eat cake. And,
Wow.
you just had seen these people's names and handles online so much. And it was great to meet people, face to face and shake hands and, be personable and pass business cards and ask questions and stuff like that. So, like, being around people that are where I was continues to inspire me and make me feel great about being able to help, knowing how I felt when I was in their shoes and just wanting that assistance.
Yeah.
They just inspire me with their work ethic and what they do because I see some people doing it even better than I was. And I'm like, oh, that would have been good. I love what you're doing. So for me, it's just being around those people that are doing big things and, hope to be going places.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. I'm going to call it officially that Monica wins. I'm sorry, Lewis, but just under the wire.
Unfortunately, I'm used to it.
Yeah, something tells me that's true. And we're gonna check out Cakechella, DMV Cakechella, because what a great idea, and shine the light on that and share that. But what I'm also getting is the power of community and how
Yes.
important it is, and how important it is for folks who are, I mean, for all of us working remotely. You guys have gorgeous backgrounds up. Like I'm sitting in my spare bedroom office, right? Like. I don't get to really see people in person, so I so love to clearly connect with people any way I can. And for folks who are doing this job, they're they don't know a lot of other people who are doing it that they can talk to, which is why we have the kitchen. And Lewis, thank you for jumping in there and shining some light on some good stuff and some bad stuff. So, thank you. You mean business, I'm telling you. So it's just really powerful. You guys know that I've loved meeting you, and I'm really excited for our relationship to grow and to help each other as best we can. I encourage our listeners and viewers to go to sugarstrategist.com/castiron. If you mean business, they mean business, and it'd be a really good use of your time. Thanks so much for joining. Thanks for preparing. Thanks for being so professional, and thanks for being awesome.
Thanks for having us, Mark.
My pleasure, guys.
Thanks, Mark.